On the CFL Report, live from Exhibition Stadium, the highlights in Week 17. A special preview of the Argonaut Rough Rider matchup on TSN tonight. And a profile of Tiger Cat interim head coach, Ted Schmitz. TSN CFL Report. It's our game around here, brought to you by Carling O'Keefe Brewery. We begin a Canadian Football League doubleheader on TSN with a pregame edition of the CFL Report, live from the sidelines at Exhibition Stadium in Toronto. Hi everyone, I'm John Wells, and welcome once more to the CFL Report on TSN. Just over 30 minutes away from game time tonight, the Ottawa Rough Riders and the Toronto Argonauts. Then tomorrow we jet toward the West Coast and Vancouver for the Tiger Cats and the British Columbia Lions. Big changes on the West Coast. More on that just a little bit later on. Right now to Leif Pedersen, my partner in the matter of the moment. It has been 11 straight losses for the Ottawa Rough Riders. I say they can win tonight.
Oh, John, you see, that's the difference between you and I. You have compassion, I don't. They've got a horrible football team, and tonight will be no different than the last 11. They've got too many young guys, and you suffer with young players. At one point or another in a football game, they self-destruct, and they're losing games like that.
Now, these Argonauts have won 3 games in a row, but they have beaten some of the lesser lights in the CFL during their string, including Ottawa last week, by just 8 points. Ottawa ran up almost 400 yards.
You know what? Toronto gives up a lot of yards on defense. That's no secret this year, but they don't beat themselves. They don't give up the big play, and that's why they've been winning. Bob Abilovich has really put a solid football team together. It starts with that offensive line. It's a great group, and it just goes from there. They've got a solid team.
All right, Leif Pedersen will pick the Week 17 winners a little later on this edition of the CFL Report. I don't think he's going with the Ottawa Rough Riders in this one tonight. Right now, Peter Watts on the sidelines, east side of the stadium here for his CFL Notebook.
All right, John, thank you very much. Well, of course, the major story in the Canadian Football League this week, the firing Wednesday afternoon of the Lions head coach, Don Matthews. The Lions, a team with an offensive line that has been decimated by injuries, and with a quarterback who's been hurt as well, Roy DeWalt, although the hope is that he can play this weekend. Larry Donovan, the defensive coordinator, takes over for the rest of this season as the head coach. A strange kind of story, because Matthews' team had lost 3 in a row despite the injuries, but he's the all-time winningest coach in the history of the BC Lions. A strange move indeed, and David Pratt will update that story for us at halftime here tonight. Let's look now at the games remaining for the teams in the West Division. The Saskatchewan Roughriders, first of all, aren't going to make it into the playoffs, but they could impact on the standings in the West thanks to those games involving Edmonton and the BC Lions. The Calgary Stampeders could still finish first, although more likely they are going to finish second the way they're playing and the way the Lions are playing. Those 2 games against Hamilton and, of course, 1 game with the Lions still to go. Edmonton Eskimos in the driver's seat in the West Division now with 4 games still to play. Saskatchewan and Ottawa, they should win. The other 2 will be interesting contests. And the BC Lions with 4 games to go. They're trying to snap out of a 3-game losing streak. Hamilton, Calgary, and Edmonton, the way they are playing, are not going to be easy tests at all for the British Columbia Lions. So that is everything on this week's edition of the CFL Notebook. I'm Peter Watts. Let's go back now to John Wells. John?
Danny Barrett will be the starting quarterback for the Toronto Argonauts for the 2nd week in a row. He had them rolling last week against the Ottawa Rough Riders, not only through the air but along the ground. Barrett and Gil Fennerty, a big part of the Argonauts' success against Ottawa last night. Coming up, the highlights of Week 16. This is the CFL Reports on TSN. Welcome back to the CFL Report on TSN. The Argos and the Rough Riders in the kickoff less than 30 minutes away as you watch Todd Dillon, the starting quarterback for the Ottawa Rough Riders tonight. He got the Rough Riders moving a little, too late, and 3 interceptions cost Ottawa last week against the Argonauts. However, Dillon is the starter tonight, and he may be able to get them moving. Let's look back now to Week 16 and the 2nd meeting of the season between Ottawa and Toronto.
Toronto and the Argonauts.
Success in this one directly related to the Argos' ability to rush the football. 255 yards along the ground, 118 courtesy of halfback Gil Finnerty. Danny Barrett also fueled the ground attack by contributing 107 yards and 14 carries. The first time two Argos have run for more than 100 in the same game since Joe Theismann and Leon McQuay in '71. Argo defense, an example of the bend but don't break philosophy. Ottawa ran up 462 yards, but the Argos came up with a big play when necessary. Ottawa managed a pair of 12-yard scores from Todd Dillon to Gerald Alphin, but that was not enough as the hapless Rough Riders found themselves on the short end once more, this time 30-22. The first of two Sunday games had Saskatchewan in Hamilton to take on the slumping Ticats. The new tabby Kenny King responsible for the only scoring in the opening quarter. The former Oakland Raider in from 2 yards out, the Ticats up by 7. Riders head coach John Gregory decided to start untested quarterback Kent Austin, and the decision paid off. Austin shook off a rough start to toss a 51-yarder to Ray Elgard in the second quarter. An early injury to Paul Osbaldiston forced Hamilton to use slotback Lee Knight as the place kicker. Knight missed 2 of 3 field goals, but this single tied the game at 20-all in the fourth quarter. That left it up to Dave Ridgway, and the reliable veteran didn't let the Rough Riders down. Ridgway good on this 20-yard field goal late in the game, and Saskatchewan came away with a much-needed victory, 23-20. The second Sunday matchup, a pivotal contest between the Stampeders and the Lions. Early in the second quarter, Larry Kuharek gambles on third down, and it pays off. Rick Warman keeps and scrambles 12 yards to the end zone. The Stamps led 14-3. Warman equally effective through the air. Later in the second, he teamed up with Larry Willis on a 51-yard scoring strike. Calgary in front, 21-6 at the half, and Kuharek liked what he was seeing. The Calgary defense took charge from there. 8 quarterback sacks and 2 interceptions as the Stampeders record an important 34-6 victory to move into a second-place tie with the Lions. Thanksgiving Monday, a good bet for the Grey Cup preview. The Eskimos and the Blue Bombers in Winnipeg. And the air was full of footballs. Matt Dunnigan starts off with a 53-yard missile to Stephen Jones. His first of 2 TD catches on the day. Edmonton led 9-0 first quarter. Willard Reeves then responds with a pair of TD catches of his own. This one a 7-yard toss from Tom Clements. But it was the Eskimos with a slim 16-14 lead at the half. Tom Clements took charge third quarter. 3 touchdown passes, including this beautiful play, 72 yards to Perry Tuttle. Tuttle runs away from the coverage. The Bombers away from the Eskimos to win 38-20. So the Western Division standings look like this after Week 17. Edmonton at 9-5, leading the BC Lions and the Calgary Stampeders by 2 points. Saskatchewan has 9. And in the Eastern Division, the Blue Bombers with a big 5-point lead on the Toronto Argonauts, and the Hamilton Tiger Cats stand third. Ottawa has to win tonight to keep a playoff hope alive. And there's the Argonauts' leading receiver, Darryl Smith. He could be in for a big night. Now, the Argonauts ran the football very well last week. Bob Obilovich wants to put it in the air just a little bit more frequently tonight. Well, in Hamilton, the Tiger Cats are trying to regroup from the minor heart attack suffered by Al Bruno. The interim head coach of the Tiger Cats these days, Ted Schmitz, and he's still looking for his first win. Will it come tomorrow night in BC?
Thanks, John. You know, the Hamilton Tiger Cats have always had a reputation for having a tough defense. Guys like Mike Walker, Ben Zambiazzi, and Grover Covington are always near the top of the all-star balloting. And behind every good defense, there's a tough defensive coordinator. The man here in Hamilton has been Ted Schmitz for 5 years. It was only fitting that when Al Bruno went down with a mild heart attack, Schmitz became the man on the hot seat.
Schmitz enjoys the opportunity to be the head man, even the added pressure, that same kind of stress that can cause heart attacks. He's learned a lot in just 2 weeks as head coach.
Well, I think it's a little bit more important than I had realized, how you have to be a little bit of a psychologist and really talk to the players, you know, as a total group. I've always done it within my area, but as a total group, you have to spend an awful lot of time with the people, because some people are not playing that think they should. Some people, they can see that maybe somebody that's playing ahead of them is not playing real well. But if that guy's given the effort, I'm not going to replace him. And I think these are things I've got to relate to each individual as he comes up to me, and spend a lot more time with him from a psychological standpoint.
Each coach has to be able to motivate his players. Bruno was the strong, quiet type of leader. Schmitz has his own style.
Now you go in, that's it. There you go, Eddie. Good, good, that's it. Nice.
He's very outspoken, and he just kind of gets you fired up, you know. When he starts talking and he gets going a mile a minute, and it's really inspirational, you know, just listening to him talk and try and fire you up.
I think everybody's pulling for him, you know, and we're all behind him 100%, you know, and I think we'll be all right later on down the line.
Some coaches undergo a personality change when they become head coaches. To his credit, Schmitz has stayed the same, and the players treat him the same.
Now that he's head coach, he's got a lot of other things to deal with, and we're trying to, keep him from concentrating on us so much, because we're a lot of, we've got 5 veterans on the defensive line, and we pretty much know what's going on down there. So we don't get on his case or nothing about anything like that, and we just let him do his thing.
Anybody who's ever coached football aspires to be a head coach. Is this maybe the beginning for you?
I hope so. You never know. If we go 0 and whatever, nobody will ever want me again maybe. But I'm just going to stay in it and keep working at it and do the best I can do. And, I think that we've got the right attitude, and that's the #1 thing I can do. I got to evaluate and motivate, and that's my #1 job. And then I got to let the rest of the coaches take care of their area, and I still got to take care of my area. And if I can do those 2 things, whether we win or lose, I'm not going to feel bad about it, and I'm just going to keep working hard at it, and I'm learning every day, and I'll be better as I go along.
The Tiger Cats have lost 2 games under Ted Schmidt, but to his credit, he's found something positive in each one of those losses. And that's pretty tough considering that one of them came against maybe the worst team in the CFL, the Saskatchewan Roughriders. A lot of the players around here feel that whether it's Coach Bruno or Coach Schmidt, the Hamilton tradition lives on. What they're hoping that means is another strong finish and an appearance in the Grey Cup. Mark Jones for the CFL Report. Now back to John.
Thank you, Mark. And Ted Schmitz gets another chance tomorrow night as he goes against the British Columbia Lions under new head coach Larry Donovan. 24 minutes to kick off now at Exhibition Stadium in Toronto. The Argonauts and the Ottawa Roughriders. Toronto trying to make it 4 wins in a row. The Ottawa Roughriders looking to snap a horrendous 11-game losing streak. Right now, let's look back to last week and the players of Week 16.
Rod Brown, the corner.
Friday night in Toronto, Argonaut running back Gil the Thrill Fennerty continued to make a strong bid for Rookie of the Year honors. Fennerty carried 11 times for 118 yards as the Argonauts ran over the Eastern Roughriders. Fennerty is currently in 2nd place in CFL yards rushing. Sunday afternoon in Hamilton, a great debut for Saskatchewan quarterback Kent Austin. Austin completed 15 of 24 passes for 292 yards and 1 touchdown. He also showed good mobility as he led the Roughriders to a key win over the Tiger Cats. Sunday in BC, Calgary's Rick Warman put on a show at the expense of the Lions. Warman completed 15 of 30 passes for 299 yards and a couple of touchdowns. Warman also ran for a pair of majors as the Stampeders downed the Lions and grabbed a share of 2nd spot in the CFL West.
If that wasn't a design play, it was a great change of mind by Warman.
Finally, from Monday's game in Winnipeg, the Bombers won big, and quarterback Tom Clements was at his best.
Dunnigan has time.
Clements completed 17 of 31 for 364 yards and 5 touchdowns against the Eskimos. Just another typically great afternoon for Bomber quarterback Tom Clements. Live pictures from Exhibition Stadium in Toronto as the band warms up a rather chilly evening by Lake Ontario. The Argonauts and the Ottawa Roughriders get set to kick it off. We're about 20 minutes away, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to the CFL Report on TSN from Exhibition Stadium in Toronto. About 20 minutes away now from the kickoff for the Argonauts and the Ottawa Roughriders this evening, and more on that matchup coming up in just a moment. But first, let's catch up on the CFL Canadians who shone in Week 16. This week's runner-up, slot-back Rocky DiPietro of the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Against Saskatchewan, the University of Ottawa grad turned in his usual steady performance. DiPietro caught 9 for 82 yards and a touchdown. TSN's outstanding Canadian for Week 16, slot-back Ray Elgard of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Against the Tiger Cats, the 4-year veteran from the University of Utah caught 3 passes for 105 yards and a big touchdown that helped the Western Riders win a close one over Hamilton. Slotback Ray Elgard of Saskatchewan, TSN's outstanding Canadian for Week 16. Coming up, the Ottawa Roughriders and the Toronto Argonauts live on TSN. We'll talk to both coaches about tonight's game. But first, from Michael Whalen in Ottawa, the Rough Rider Report.
Well, John, as bad as things have gone for the Ottawa Rough Riders through these past 11 defeats, at least the attitude around here seems positive heading into the rematch against the Argonauts. Last week against Toronto, the Ottawa offense had their moments, but key fumbles and interceptions killed potential scoring drives. Heading into this Friday's rematch against the Argos, offensive coordinator Pal Satori says his squad is optimistic.
We think that we have a chance to beat Toronto, and felt that we did last week. We played certainly well enough to win. You know, we had a lot of yards as far as total offense, but we didn't have a lot of points. And so you look at the film and evaluate mistakes and what they're doing, and there's going to be some plays or situations that the quarterbacks have to react to. If they react to them better, we should have had 560 yards total offense. Our strength, I believe, is in the passing game. We can be a good running team and have showed signs of it, but the way that we have to beat Toronto, I think, has to be in the passing game.
You know, I think last time we played them, you know, we moved the ball. Every time we've played them this year, we moved the ball and I'm throwing the ball. So, you know, why change? And, you know, if we can crack a couple runs, then it'll just make the pass work that much better.
The Rough Riders have invested a lot of their hopes in two young rookies. Center Ray Robertus and offensive guard Leo Groenwagen, neither of whom is too discouraged by Ottawa's string of defeats.
We're just working hard, you know, every practice. We know some, you know, I don't think you can dwell on all the negatives all the time. I think we all just try our best to be as positive as we possibly can, and, you know, and come game day, we're just going to perform to the best of our capabilities.
The difference between winning and losing is often minute, although try telling that to a team that has just lost 11 in a row. But if Ottawa hopes to change their fortunes, proper execution is going to be the key.
Barrett really hurt us running with the football. I don't know, we can't stand there all day and watch him because they have too many other weapons, but I know that we can't allow him to run for over 100 yards again. He just kept too many drives going. We'd have him in 2nd and 10 or 2nd and 20, and all of a sudden he was running down the field making a first down. And he's just a really good athlete who's able to scramble, and that's a real bonus in this league. So I know that's one thing we have to work very hard on, is keeping him from making those critical plays against us.
So look to the Ottawa Rough Riders to be more aggressive this time around. And look to Ottawa not to give up on their young players either, because to their credit, the Ottawa Rough Riders have not gone for the quick fix. Instead, they've decided to build a strong base of young talent here. Unfortunately, with the attendance records being what they have been of late, even if the Rough Riders were to win all their remaining games, it may end up being too little too late. Back to you, John.
Thank you, Michael, and still smiling bravely through it all, Ottawa Rough Rider head coach Fred Glick. Did that train ride provide any light at the end of the tunnel for the Ottawa Rough Riders as you arrived in town yesterday?
Well, John, I guess we won't know that until after the game tonight. But actually, it was kind of relaxing. You know, the day before the game, you fly in, you jump on a bus here and bus there. At least we just took our time. We didn't have to wait in a hotel. We got here, and the kids seemed to relax and do things on the train to get to know each other better. So I think it was good.
All right, in view of last week's game against the Argonauts, you lost by 8 points. Did you feel you were closer? Did you feel you had a chance to win last week?
Well, John, I think we did. I thought our kids played well. Probably the biggest thing in it, we didn't get points early in the game when we had the wind. They got 4 turnovers, we got none, and I think that's the difference in the ball game. I think as far as playing, we played well. Our kids played hard. We got about 420 yards on offense. I thought our defense did a fair job of shutting them down. Not good enough, but we did hold Smith to no receptions the second half, and then Finnerty and Barrett kind of ran wild on us.
All right, well, wish you luck and hope you can snap out of it tonight. Let's go over to the Argonaut bench right now, and here's Mark Jones.
Thanks, John. You know, most people would agree that the Canadian Football League is more of a passing than a rushing league. Very rarely do you see running backs go over the magical 1,000-yard mark. Well, last week in Ottawa, the Argonauts turned the tables on that a little bit as they piled up plenty of real estate along the ground.
Smith on an offense.
Last week against Ottawa, the Argonauts rushed for 255 yards, thanks to a great effort by the offensive line.
Well, I think all of the credit has to go to the offensive line. They did a good job of opening up some holes up front, and Gill hit them in stride, and the guys still in their blocks. You know, even the receivers did a good job downfield. So, you know, we're happy that they're playing together right now, and I think they're the key to our success right now offensively.
The holes are all there. It's just now that I'm hitting them now, and I'm getting through them. So, you know, it's just they deserve all the credit. You know, they've just been carrying a rookie through the year.
Protection is the name of the game for the offensive line. Last season, the protection wasn't there. Toronto allowed a league-high 103 sacks. But this season, they've allowed the second fewest sacks next to Winnipeg.
Probably the biggest difference is we don't have a whole bunch of people hurt. Everybody has been able to play a lot of games and been able to practice quite a bit and consistently together. And when you know exactly what the guy beside you is doing, then things just kind of fall into place a little bit better. So as long as we maintain our health, we should play well.
The line has a good mix of youth and experience. Dan Ferroni is the veteran of the group. Chris Schultz is in his second full year with Toronto. Kelvin Prunster is the other mammoth tackle, and Jim Kardash has played every position on the line but center.
The mix is nice. The veteran experience of Ferroni and Prunster, some of the experience of Chris Schultz helps out a lot. They work hard on the mental aspects of the game with each of us. Players like Bob Skemp, myself, and Randy, we can learn a lot from guys like that.
Offensive linemen rarely get any recognition, but Danny Barrett promises to grease some palms on the line if they keep him off his back in any game.
Should we provide a shout-out, I believe Danny's mentioned something about dinner at one of the better restaurants here in Toronto.
So you're not talking about McDonald's?
No, not McDonald's, definitely not.
Barrett told me it wouldn't be the Golden Arches, but he also told me they can't afford to look past Ottawa if they're hoping to catch Winnipeg and finish in first place. Coach Bob Obilovich, a chance for the record tonight. 55 wins makes you the winningest coach in Argo history.
Well, that would be nice if that happens, Mark, but believe me, my biggest concern is winning this football game and just concentrating on that right now. If we can be successful and some kind of recognition comes with this win, then, you know, that's just a little icing on the cake. But I'm more concerned with how our players play and us winning this football game than me setting some kind of record.
New strategy by the Argos now, having so much success along the ground. Is that a new-look Argo team now?
Well, I think we're going to be able to run the football team well, you know, here every game. Just a matter of what the defense gives you and how they're playing us. And, you know, Gil Fennerty's getting better with every ball game, and Tony Johns is a very capable running back along with Warren Hudson. So we feel good about our offense and being able to do both the run and the pass. And I think because of the success we had last week against Ottawa, I'm sure they're going to store up their defense a little tougher on the run, and maybe it'll open up some other things for us.
Good luck, Coach. More of the CFL Report after this.
Welcome back to the CFL Report on TSN. 9 minutes to kick off the Ottawa Rough Riders and the Toronto Argonauts. And it is time for Mrs. Petterson's favorite part of the show, Leafs Picks, as we move in to look ahead at Week 17 of the Canadian football and the fans file into Exhibition Stadium in Toronto. We want to talk about the BC Lions and the Hamilton Tiger Cats tomorrow night in Vancouver. Most importantly, Leaf wants to talk about the BC Lions.
You know, every once in a while there's some dumb things that happen in the CFL, but John, to me, firing Donnie Matthews was the dumbest thing that has happened all year. I mean, it stinks. Here's a guy who's the winningest coach in BC Lion history, percentage-wise, and he's not coaching. Fred Glick has lost 11 in a row, and he's coaching. You figure this out.
Well, it's a little difficult to figure, but let's
terrible.
see how the matchup looks for tomorrow night with the Tiger Cats under their interim head coach going into the Lions Den in Vancouver. You like the BC Lions a lot, obviously.
Well, I think it's going to be a very close game. Two teams that are really struggling right now, but I think BC at home, you know, give them the edge. I understand Roy DeWalt's going to play at home. They need a big win. New head coach, they'll probably play okay. New head coach that shouldn't be there.
All right, that's the BC Lions favorite in that one tomorrow night. What about the Edmonton Eskimos, Saskatchewan Roughriders in Saskatchewan?
Well, you got to be happy. You called Saskatchewan last week, and you know this week they play well at home. You know they've got they're rounding out to a pretty good team, but Edmonton is too tough.
And Edmonton lost last week.
Yeah, Edmonton in Saskatchewan, close game, but Edmonton will take it.
All right, it is the Eskimos by a bunch in that one, in spite of the fact that the Rough Riders have home field. And what about our game here this evening? The Ottawa Rough Riders and the Toronto Argonauts.
Well, Ottawa with a lot of young guys. We talked about that. They're really struggling, and Toronto shouldn't have any problem.
All right, let's check out the X's. This is the way Leif Pettersson sees this matchup tonight on TSN. It is the Argonauts all down the right-hand side, even special teams to the Argonauts. No tick marks for Dean Dorsey or for Ken Clark. All right, the game is coming up on TSN. Join us again next week on the CFL Report. The CFL Report is brought to you by Carling O'Keefe Breweries. It's our beer around here.